1883 is a bit of a bad boyfriend. Anyone who takes a bird's eye view of the Yellowstone origin story can not only see what's happened with clarity, but see what's going to happen. But we're in it. It's a bad boyfriend, but it's our bad boyfriend. And love is blind. Let me give you a few examples. The very first scene of the very first episode, this happens. Now an outsider would say, oh yeah, she gone, but we're holding out some hope. Early on, we meet Aunt Claire, who is really down on this trip up north, but we say, she'll come around, and man, what a moment of redemption that'll be. But then by the end of episode 2, we see James Dutton with a shovel, waiting to bury her after she takes her own life. I could go on. A signature scene is the river crossing scene from episode 4. Sure, they get across the river, but 3 more people are killed, leaving about half the number of travelers that the show started with. Maybe I'm the only one here, but I thought, okay, this group is becoming battle-hardened. That's fine, survival of the fittest and all that. I expect them to handle the next obstacle with poise and come out on top. Well, that sure as heck wasn't the case. Hey, it's Billy Dukes, and I'm going to make a prediction at the end of this video that you may not like, but if you pull back and take a bird's eye view, I think it's the only way the show can end. Tap subscribe and give a thumbs up if you're loving the realism of 1883 and the great acting. There is no doubt that this show has those 2 things going for it. Is it a fun watch? No, it's not. But you know what? Winter makes us all appreciate spring and summer just a little bit more, doesn't it? Doesn't it? As always, I've put the time codes for key questions in this video in the description section, and as always, I'm going to spoil some things that have happened in the first 7 episodes. In fact, I already did, but nothing major, so there's still time for you to hop on out if you want to. And if you like a deeper dive into Yellowstone in 1883, find the Dutton Rules podcast wherever podcasts are found. Links are in the description. Episode 7 is called Lightning Yellow Hair, and it begins a few weeks after they cross the Red River. Good news, no reported deaths with that river crossing. Bad news.
The plains are littered with bones.
Even by post-Ennis Elsa standards, her narration was particularly grim during this episode. I felt like I needed to donate all my money to some Native American causes after she says,
The filth of our touch is an apocalypse.
20-second recap of what comes next. Comanches show up, but they're cool. In fact, Elsa befriends Sam, who gives her the name Lightning Yellowhair, and they race some horses. More on Sam in just a second. Meanwhile, the new cook whips up a sweet dinner, but also teaches little John Dutton how to use the F word. Margaret, not a fan of that.
Have a steak for him? Okay, whole steak.
That part was pretty funny, so let's see it again.
Have a steak for him? Okay, whole steak.
Oh, and the Comanches say something about bandits hiding behind storms, but no big deal, right?
I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I'm gonna do it right here. She's a survivor. Lay down!
What do we do?
Run!
Retreat!
That way!
I'll get to the storm because that changed everything for me, and maybe you too. I mentioned Sam though, and if you watch Yellowstone, you might recognize him. That's another Where's Waldo kind of character, like James Jordan as the cook, and we talked about this last week, but James also plays Agent Hendon on Yellowstone. Sam is actor Martin Sensmeyer, who played Monica's physical therapist during season 2 of Yellowstone. He was also part of Wind River as Chip. He's best known, however, as being one of the Magnificent Seven in the movie, The Magnificent Seven, but his role during this episode is kind of up there. He sort of saves the Dutton family, twice. As it turns out, tornado season in Oklahoma was in May and June in 1883 too, and we know they're in mid-spring because in episode 2, Elsa refers to the date as April 9th, 1883, her 18th birthday, and it's been about probably 6 to 8 weeks. Should have seen this coming. I really don't know how they carry on after all this. This is literally the point of the series where you find me giving up hope that the majority of who's left will get on to where they want to be. Unless they come across some sort of bounty of wagons, food, and supplies, they're all on borrowed time.
How many wagons you think we could salvage?
Maybe 2. That makes 8 with what's left. For 26 adults and 22 children.
I do want to applaud the cinematography here. Taylor Sheridan has said that 1883 might be the most expensive show ever filmed, and I think this is one example of why. I don't know how they recreated the monster of a twister for this movie set, but it looked so real. It was also so sad. This sequence was 10 to 15 minutes long, and frankly, I'm gonna check the internet to see if there's a strong immigrant population in south central Oklahoma, because I do not think that the group gets much further after this. I'm getting a little ahead of myself though. The crew did manage to find a few horses, and one figures they can get a few more from the bandits they killed. Yep, remember that bandit conversation? 13 of them tried to steal the herd, but they all got killed by Shea Brennan, James Dutton, Thomas, and Margaret Dutton. This was a pretty interesting scene. First of all, it reminded me of a battle scene from Star Wars where all the stormtroopers die, but Hans and Luke are just fine. I was good with that though. Elsa's Comanche friend, Sam, returns in a big way.
His fury was so magnificent. There was no time for horror, not even for the men he killed.
And they also got help from Charles. Okay, I'm gonna offer one light criticism here. It's something I don't really like to do because I'm not a TV critic per se, and because nobody really wants to hear some dude whining on the internet. But the show could have done a little bit better job introducing Charles and explaining who he was. He kind of just appears with Sam and his buddy, and he starts shooting. Then after the battle, it becomes clear that him and Shea know one another. Charles is played by show creator Taylor Sheridan. Most people picked up on that. His accent is a bit striking, but more important is his historical significance. That's Charles Goodnight, a pretty legendary Texas rancher known as the father of the Texas Panhandle, and it was, as far as we know, a coincidence that he was in the neighborhood. Listen, you know I'm here for this show and I really admire Taylor's writing, but this all felt a little bit forced to me. I'm hoping for more of Mr. Goodnight, but I fear that like Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson, his appearance is going to be one and done. So it's here I ask you to pull back with me and predict anything that looks like a happy ending for this show. We saw Elsa take the arrow on some western plain. During that scene, several more wagons were set to flames and destroyed. The only thing we know for sure is that the Duttons get to Montana, but ain't nobody getting to Oregon. I mean, with 3 episodes left, I don't think Shea Brennan, Thomas and company make it past Kansas. In fact, I'm betting they slowly die painful deaths along the way. But what do you think? As always, it's a conversation and I'll respond in the comment section below. Tap the subscribe button for more Yellowstone and 1883 recaps and insight, and then give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the show. I'm Billy Dukes with Taste of Country. Thanks for watching, and thanks for subscribing.